Welcome to the Zulu One Podcast. Today we're joined by my friend Tiziano Sguerso, a systemic practitioner and constellation observer, the founder of the Language of the Soul. Tiziano's work focuses on helping people restructure life experiences, reconnect with their system of belonging, and break free from limiting patterns through a soul-level approach to systemic constellations. Today we'll explore his journey, his work, and the perspectives that shape his approach to healing and leadership. Let's begin. Thank you for coming on the podcast again, man. I see you, moving and shaking and amplifying this wonderful work that we're both so passionate about, man. And the first podcast that we did had such a good reception in that. And the world's shifting. There's some movement happening kind of all over the place. And I wanted to get your perspective on some of the kind of bigger dynamics that we're dealing with. You probably heard the news of what's going on in the U.S., right, with the turmoil and managing through trauma has emerged. Right, of manipulating the world in some ways to manage through trauma. And I know for me, from my perspective, what I feel as a facilitator, and I'd love to have that discussion with you and see how what's come up for you and what things have surfaced up from your orbit.
Brother, thank you for having me again. I definitely feel in alignment in opening up and sharing some information and space with you. So here I am. My prospect in regards to, the dark, the light, what happens in the world. But I wish to, amplify it a little bit. First and foremost, one of the things that I always bring to the surface, John, is when an individual is emotionally engaged with whatever happened externally is because inside them, there is still that war with what is happening externally. So if I am engaging emotionally with a war, it's because that war is still inside me. I am part of that war. And that is totally okay, brother. That is not like, because I feel that I'm wrong. Quite the opposite. Where is my path to peace? My path to peace is to go inside me, acknowledge that part where war is still present, and cry out that sadness, that fear, that unresolved trauma that is still keeping me looped inside that war. So I can take off a little bit of energy from that war, which is manifesting externally, and my inner self, the one that is at war, is amplifying it. So if I want to take the war outside, if I want to switch off the war, my work is starting within me. So I start my work within me, and then I manifest that externally. This is always my biggest call when I am in front of 30 people, 50 people, and 100 people. And I know that half the room start to look at me like, what is he talking about? Let me throw a stone at him. Yeah. And that's totally fine. Totally fine. I'm not here to judge it, because in 2020, when COVID happened, I was part of the problem big time, because I was just fighting it from the other side. But slowly, I made myself humbly part of the solution. So I no longer focus on the war externally, because I am so devoted, John, in serving hundreds, if not thousands of people monthly, in being part of the solution, that I don't even have the time to look at the problem, brother.
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it, because I resonate deeply with that, and the only thing that I know how to do, and the only thing that I know how to do really well, is work on my stuff. I know how to do that really well. I can see where I'm activated and say, oh, that wound is internal. That's the wound that I have with either the victim or the perpetrator, or with the system, right? That say that, this unjustness is like, where am I unjust with others? Where am I feeling that activation and that wound? And so, to see it from another male facilitator, that we naturally embody that direction, right, of the masculinity, is just, it's interesting to put into perspective, because Not a lot of people have that perspective. Not a lot of people understand, when people jump on the other and are on the other side of a family constellation, and then it takes them a couple years for everything to start clicking. You're like, oh, and when you write an article and say the perpetrator in you is the perpetrator that I recognize in me, the victim in you is the victim that I recognize in me, and the more that I heal, the more I can hold grace for both of those energies. And when you start talking from that place, the higher self place, everything starts losing its oxygen and starts losing the fire in the war. It's just, yeah, you put it very well.
I love you sharing, and I also love to have this conversation because I see that there is peace and emotional. There is a table where we can actually express our opinion without an emotional charge of ping pong, back and forth. I want to share something about what you said, the victim and the perpetrator. I hosted a workshop in Dubai only couple of months ago. It was one of the most intense workshop I've ever done, John. It wasn't the biggest, like we had 35, 40 people, all women. It was the first time that I had no one man into the room. No one man, not even the videographer. The videographer was a female. So wow. just to give awareness, no, and I know we speak the same language. We have seen several cases, I would say 7, 8, maybe a little more, but 3 or 4 were all about victim and perpetrators. All about rapists, pedophilia, like very intense, John, cases, very intense. And I really had to put like my gloves on, like I really had to act with such grace because there was so much trauma inside the place. But 3 or 4 of the constellation were about victim and perpetrator, pedophile, somebody obviously also in country like Iraq, Iran, Beirut, Lebanon, where there is the murder victim, like stuff like that, intense, like somebody does such an act as pedophilia, get killed the day after if they catch him. What I did was really bringing the victim and the perpetrator together. We had 3 or 4 intense cases where the perpetrator would go inside the family of the victim. Yeah. And really inside it still gives me goosebumps. Inside the entire room, everybody was crying, everybody was releasing. There was so much peace. I left that workshop with, wow, what a service, like, thank God for allowing me to do this. I felt with such peace, John.
I don't know any other way, and you said it perfectly. It's like approaching the dynamic with grace. It's like grace is the only thing that has the redemptive quality of bringing that energy together from a place of wholeness rather than from a place of pain. And I started saying this in constellations a lot. It's like if you go far back in my system, I have the worst of I have genocide, I have incest, I have rape, I have murder, I have homicide, I have everything. If you go far back enough, you go 12 generations back, it's 4,094 people that all had their own stories. They had all these, they had to meet at the right place at the right time for everything to happen. And that might be closer in my generation or maybe farther apart. We're all human beings, and those stories are part of the human condition. And when you see that happen, and I think, and I wrote an article about kind of the stuff that's going on in the news, it's like every constellation that I go to, abuse comes up. It's a repeating story that happens in family systems. And our opportunity is that we can be the generational chain breaker. We can be the gatekeeper for that not to pass down into another generation. And so, man, just handling it with grace is such a great word, because it's not us that do it, right? It's like there's this presence of grace that comes into the room when that happens and has this sweeping movement. It's such a beautiful thing, man.
I shared a very short sentence, John, about the word grace and compassion. No? There was a lady over these 2 days that, it was very intense. And usually the way I work, John, when there is such intensity, I pull and push. Like I pull as far as I can, but then I push back and I make a little bit of joke, a bit of laugh. Like I try to ease, I can't pull constantly because otherwise the room crack, you know what I mean? Particularly with such dynamic. Anyway, there was a situation where I made a joke towards this lady when there was the consultation, the interview, no? And I felt she was left a bit, stiff. And when we went to the bathroom afterwards, she entered the room again. and she felt really angry at me, and she kind of expressed it a bit in a passive aggressive way. But a part of me, John, there was that anger, to say, hey, I put you on your spot. But then I sat within me for 15-20 seconds, and I turned towards her and I said, you are right, you deserve better. As soon as I said that in front of everybody, still gives me goosebumps, she immediately cried, and the rest of the room obviously felt the intensity, and she said, no man in my life ever told me that I was right. So and then she said, now I know why I came here. Still gives me a little bit of tears. Yeah.
Wow.
I had the capacity to stay really still, John, in peace. Like, can I handle this? Can I have enough compassion for her and her, I don't know, I would say, her little girl reaction, that she felt somehow mistreated or not acknowledged, even if I was playing, I was joking. But then I said, you are right. You deserve better in life. And it gave me really, afterwards, I felt so much peace. I felt I really honored my mom, because my mom went through a lot of, childhood abuse. She was from South Italy. Women, they had no word literally there. She could not even wear a skirt, because my grandfather would literally physically beat her. Wow. She did experience that. Anyway, that was the bliss, my latest workshop in 2025. And
we're both male facilitators, right? And then to hold the presence of that masculinity in that space is such a sacred position to be in. And that the fact that we both take that so seriously of how we are approaching that, especially with some of the more difficult dynamics that happen in human systems, right? That we are holding the space for males and the masculine energy. And, I love when people say that the right facilitator shows up in your world, right? And that we're both, younger guys, that we, then the constellation world is mainly older women. And so us being younger guys, bringing that energy to it is just an interesting dynamic. And it's interesting that you say it's like a full group of women that we're doing the constellation. Is like here in South Florida, it's mainly all women. Like it's like older Jewish women doing the constellations. That's like the community down here in South Florida. So when there's guys, I'm like, thank God there's two other guys here in the constellation. So it's cool to see how different communities evolve in different places, and especially in the Middle East, of how old the dynamics are and how ancient the dynamics are, and how many you can go back in some of those families and go down 1,000 generations, right? To say. Of people that are from, that area of the world.
Middle Eastern is, a very particular area. We know that this was also one of the Ellinger speech. If we go back to the first separation, no, we go back literally to religion, to Christianity, to the first, one the son, and the other one the son, the mistress, those four, the first the Jew and the Muslim. So the first. Big separation goes there. For us men, John, returning to what you mentioned at the start of your answer, I feel the more men we become, and the more compassion grows within us, the more we create space amongst other men. So the more you and I, we stand solid with other brothers in the sphere of influence of our Father, and the more we create space and compassion also for the opposite sex to feel safe, to open up to us, and us holding space as leaders. Leaders doesn't mean obviously that you need to bow your head also to female, like feeling that you have to save them or you have to oblige to something because you feel guilty. It's also the service you do to them, but not from a place of guilt, but from a place of service. Can I see you in your greatness, knowing that you can make it, knowing that you can do it, knowing that you can handle my answer? This is why, John, I always say also, we are both men, brothers. In order for us to become men fully, we need to take our mother fully. When I could see my mom in her, the pain that my mom went through, and sometimes I disregard her pain and I did not accept her fear, I did not accept her way of being judgmental towards men because I did not see her past. So I was still refusing that part within me, and so I was more reactive towards women, whom they were showing me unresolved part of my mom.
Yeah.
The more I took my mom, her pain, the absence of freedom, also the freedom that she aimed for, her freedom as well, the more I can see that in other women and becoming more men for my system of belonging.
It's almost like how we see the opposite sex is through the wound that we were raised in. And it's like it's such a gift to have that piece, because the more we can fully accept that, the more we can be in our place, right? And we can be the counterpart to that opposite energy, right? And then say, I'm married, right? I have a wife. I've been with my wife for 17 years now, right? The more that I'm in the masculine, the more that I am in the father, that I'm not her son, right? And that dynamic repeats, that she tries to mother me, or I try to be the son to her dynamic, that we're really equal partners, the stronger our relationship is. It really is a thing of beauty.
What you said is such an important acknowledgement also for the couple. I always say to people, you want to see the order in the couple, look at their energy, look at their health, look at their beauty. You see right away when there is order within the couple, they flourish. He becomes more man, she becomes more woman. He becomes more in integrity and firm, she becomes more soothing, soft, more woman indeed. So they even on a physical appearance, they look better. I always say, in a couple where there is order, they look better, they look more beautiful. People sometimes laugh, but I said, try to stay in a relationship where there is no order, they are depleted. He looks depleted, he looks poorly, she looks heavy, she looks angry, she looks tired, because the exchange is not in order. She might mother him, he might father her.
Yeah, and that talk about a dynamic that's a recipe for disaster in a relationship, right? It's the, if you're out of balance, if one is the parent to the other one, that's a death sentence, right, for the relationship. So it's a heavy one. That's definitely a heavy one. And especially with Valentine's Day coming up, right? Valentine's Day is in 3 days. And, I wrote this article about, how you receive love is how you receive love from your mother, with all the strings attached, right? And so it's like how you're receiving that process is like, is love something that you rest in, or is love something that you have to work for? Like, what strings are attached with that love? Was it a full love? Was it a conditional love? Was it emotionally available? Maybe there was love, but it wasn't available to you. Just like going through that process of seeing that, and then how do you show up in the relationship with that entanglement in it? So it's like, gives a lot to think about.
Brother, big time in regards to that, John. And sometimes when a couple is entangled, one of the worst, I used to call it death sentence before, is when they have children and they say, I only stay with him or with her because of the children. Oh. While they don't know that this burden of guilt is actually carried on the children. And while if they would break such a scenario where the love is not working, they would be the one facing guilt. That's why they're not facing it, that they're loading on the children. If they do face it, the children are free and they expand, they get bigger on a soul level. So it's all a winning case, but they say, I'm not going to break it because we have children.
And to also know that once you have children with somebody, you're entangled forever, right? You're systemically, you've created a new system. You have the responsibility of those children and to raise them, and you're going to be their father, regardless of whatever the circumstances are. So it's like, you might as well become your best version and work on your stuff in order to make them, to have them be as successful as possible, right? And then the more you love their mother, right, the stronger they'll be in and resting in that love, right? It's like what are we doing, guys? Yeah. And to know that the patterns are running us in some ways. If you'd like to attend one of our events, please check the description below. We'll provide details and registration information for an event near you. If you're enjoying this conversation, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. It truly helps us with the algorithm, and this allows this message to reach more people. No noise, just clarity and real transformation. Thank you.
And the big acknowledgement into that, John, despite there are problems and entanglements inside the couple, we know that children are born within that system, so they have the tools and the strength to face whatever difficulty the system is presenting them. And that's why I say detach from the worry. He was born in that system. She was born in that system. They have the tools, the strength, and the knowledge on a morphogenetic level to thrive through those difficulties in the system. I'm one of those example, big time. Don't worry about it. The life always works in your favor, in their favor. Life always goes in support to life. This is also, if you allow me to go back to your initial question, which I think is big for you, US at the moment, and I'm gonna be in America soon, so I want to talk about this.
Oh,
indeed.
Nice.
Yes, exactly. So even if outside things seems difficult, we know that the bigger picture is always for the better outcome. Mm-hmm. We know that the field moves only in one direction, which is to reunite that which was separated. So even after a war, something new comes. After a conflict, something new comes. After COVID, a new reality came. More people were entrapped into the fear dynamic, but more people overcame the fear dynamic and open up to love and trust. So every difficulty, every contraction is an opportunity to expand.
Yeah.
It's up to you if you want to remain locked into the old system scenario, which is obviously based on fear, or you want to open up to the new vision, to the new harmonious and vibrational path, the one of love, trust, and courage.
You know, I keep coming back to this thought, and you were talking about a jellyfish moves, right? It moves and contracts, and I've been thinking about that image stuck in my head, and I'm like, and the pattern goes like this. It goes upwards, but it does go like this, and like that visual of like how a jellyfish swims, it contracts and then it goes up and then contracts and goes up, but it keeps moving forward, and I had that thought, and I'm like, this happened in my family when we started healing, right? Things got way worse. When you're going to go to a constellation, things get objectively worse. Your tire blows out, you step on something, and then the dog, poops inside the house, and the dog runs away, and your kid calls, and they bust their eye open, and you take them. Anything that the system will give the resistance to in order for you to have a good excuse for it to stay the same. And I think with the conflict that we're seeing on a global scale is like that in mass. We're seeing the system activate around the world to say all these excuses are coming because there's an awakening of our consciousness to say we're finally to a place where we can start dealing with some of these more heavy things, and we have this methodology to be able to do this at scale and very effectively.
When you oppose something, John, you tend to recreate it. When you oppose a system that creates constriction, you tend to recreate a system which is constrictive. If you do say simply, no, I do not accept that, I might find my way, or follow your feeling. Yeah, well, you want a red. Well, my way violet. Maybe I'm not going to choose red, but I choose violet. But without opposing the red and creating another red or a black to oppose that, but actually, okay, this is your way, very constrictive. I might go here. This is my way. But if I tend to oppose it, you don't fight anger with anger. You fight anger with compassion. So I always say, you don't fight a force with the same force, but you fight that force by absorbing it. Yes. With compassion. Yeah. And you dilute it. And you dilute it because anger, when fights with anger, creates further anger and further conflict, and go by law, and we go into and we actually fight within the system without stepping out. But when we say, hey, I don't accept you, I let you go. Whoop, freedom, ciao. Change provider, change way, change doctor, change system, go another way. Life always gives you a solution. That's why also I've chosen that meditation, because I'm into the solution period. So
yeah. I volunteer with a group called the Circle of Brotherhood in Miami. It's Black men dealing with their own community problems, and it's many have been incarcerated for long periods of time. I was in the meeting last night, and we were talking about building these cities. So they do a lot of exercises, right? So exercises of community building, and so, okay, we're going to build a city. And it was like, so everybody has to put something in the city. It was like putting a hospital and then putting a community center and putting a satellite office of the Circle of Brotherhood and doing this stuff. And one of the guys came in and he was like, we're building our perfect city, right? And he came in, he's like, love has to be everywhere. It's like putting love in all the places. And I'm like, after we were kind of all reflecting on it, he said, guys, you know what the opposite of love is? Apathy. Apathy is the opposite of love, not hate. Because hate is that force, right? Apathy is just like completely doesn't engage with love. When you give a crap, right? I said a different word. I said when you give a shit, right? That's actually interest in it. You continue when you have interest in something. That's how you show love to a system, is by giving it attention, right? Not being disinterested in the system, is by actually giving it attention. And so like, giving them that conversation that we were having is like giving a framework of saying love and hate keep an entanglement energy that keeps repeating the pattern over and over and over and over and over again. But when you integrate it, then you can release. It's like kind of what you were saying with when the force meets force, it just repeats the pattern. It's like we become what we reject. And that we see that happening in constellations so much. Like my mother, she's the blah, 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 and then she has the same issue with her son.
I love that, brother. When you have an emotional apathy, you kind of deflect in the experience. But I wish to add something to it, which is an experience that I'm having myself, and also in alignment with what you said about opening the city. For me, the opposite of love is fear. From one side, I choose love. I choose what's best. I choose to accept. I accept my mother fully. The other side, I'm fearful. Therefore, I reject it. So if I would be part of that city you are building, what I would suggest to you, bros, I said, you know what we're doing? We have enough compassion, enough space for us, where we open a little circle, a little hospital also for our enemy. So they can come, we can also support them, open up for them, and maybe then they decide to join us. This is how we are different than them. We don't oppose them. We make space for them in our heart.
I love that.
We say you are welcome here, even if you have done this and if you have done that. And let's pay attention, John, to that. I want to say something because also in alignment with you, bro. Create space doesn't mean to atone their consequences. Mm-hmm. If an individual has been pedophile, murder, or whatever it is, they deal with their own consequences, anger and guilt within them. So we're not going to be here to be God and atone their consequences. They need to deal with that. Although we are still able within us to have compassion for them, we make space, we make a little hostel for them. Like, hey, if you seek support, if you really aim for a change, what God would call a redemption, this is a space for you when you can meet us a couple of hours a week. Please come, and maybe you're gonna open up to our way of being, which is through love and expansion and the good and the service of others. This really empowers me, bro, just to tell you, John, like we help those that are really in need, bro.
The redemptive quality of constellations is one of the most powerful things I've ever. I don't know if we talked about this on the last podcast, but Dan Booth Cohen had the Family Constellations in Prison, and that book broke my mind. It moved me in such a profound way of how, people that were the perpetrators, right, that by society have been perpetrators, of how they could create a sacred space and have this redemptive grace. I mean, I don't know, there's no other way of talking about it other than the grace of redemption, of bringing back to the whole of the excluded. And that applies to everybody. And who are we to absolve anybody of their wrongdoing, but also to exclude anybody from the tribe of who we are as human beings? That's for God. That's not for us. For us is only to say, I see what happened. I can protect myself and I can create a little bit of space, but it's between you and God, and we're nobody to be able to create those boundaries and create the distance or create separation between us as human beings. Is the more you heal, the more I heal, right? That we are one collective consciousness. We're all reflections of each other.
How powerful that is, how empowering is to give space within your heart to someone who's sin, because there is a sinner inside you. There is a sinner inside me. Like I see hundreds, thousands of cases because I have gone through really difficult stuff, and still I'm redempting part of myself into that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's also powerful to speak about it, John. It like gives me a lot of, opening up with another brother on something like that, which is not
Yeah.
common. It's easier to say it's your fault. They need to
Yeah.
be punished. They need to. These are this and that. They are bastards. Yes, true. They have. We can express our terminology in our inner feeling, because we could also be involved into that. Imagine something to your daughter, to your
Of
mother,
course.
to
Of course.
somebody who is pain into that. But can we go that deep inside us and that high on a spiritual level to redempt such a sin, such an individual, or allow us to live in peace, be out of that system which is creating chaos and fear, and really step into this love and expansion? That's why, to help this movement, to help expand this movement of love, we must be every day involved into that. Serve others. Don't be the one pointing the gun at the other, but actually, why are you pointing the gun? What's happening in you? Do I have enough space for it?
Our job as facilitators is to hold these paradoxes, right? Where both things can be true. It's all the above. It's not either or. We hold these profound paradoxes of the human condition to say, yes, it can be both of these things. It can be all the above. It can be, option D, all the above, right? To say that also they are our parent. We come from a complicated system. Maybe we came from a hurricane of how our existence came in. All of those things can be true, but also we can give thanks for being our mom and being our dad. You'd be like, oh man, with everything that came with it. It's like, oh, well, we have this gift that it's life. We have an opportunity. That's the only real binary. We're either here or we're not. That's the great equalizer, right?
May I share another little story in regards to fear and love, John, which just came now while you were speaking. I was like, I went through this morning. Yesterday, I posted a reel on my Instagram about one of the scenery that happened in one of my workshops. Funny enough, was the Dubai event. Yeah. And by the end of the reel, there was a clip where we were closing the clip. You can see the public, and one girl that you could literally not fully recognize her, but she was on the side. She was on the public. I posted it, and this morning I woken up, and the host on Dubai, she shared with me this girl, this lovely lady, and she said, I clicked the informed consent that I didn't want to be taken into the reel, I didn't want to be seen and everything. And obviously, immediately I checked with my videographer, hey guys, what happened here and there? And obviously, she was not involved into the constellation, therefore, there was not her voice. She was in the public. However, a part of me was like, it's 2 seconds, like you can't even recognize her. And there's been that little anger in me. I was like, what's your problem? It's a real on service. It's shared with thousands of women. It's of help to many women, and a lot of women good comments because we're women getting together. But I went inside me, John, and I saw that part of my mom that she was fearful, that she is fearful to step up into a constellation scenario, whatever she has gone through. I sat in me, I went for a swim, and then I sent her a message. I immediately deleted the video, despite, it could get video shared, it give me publicity, or, good work. I immediately deleted the video, and I said, don't worry, the video's been raised, your part has been erased, and thank you for it. Thank you for attending it. Straight away when I see it, like, am I choosing fear, therefore, I'm losing some clients, this really is booming, like my face, my success, or I'm actually choosing love and trust that I accept that that's what she needs, and I'm really a man of service, so I'm not pricing for the success. Obviously, that's part of it. Yeah. I'm not pricing to the exposure, but I'm pricing to the service.
Yeah.
I deleted John, I went for a swim, and trust me, I felt so good, choosing love rather than fear. I delete it, I lose this, I lose that. No. I'm a man of service. I choose love, and I respect her will. I delete it.
I don't struggle with that part. It's like I struggle with the fact that I don't struggle with it. It's like you ask the feelings, like, yeah, the feeling is like you haven't, it's like it's just such a, when you connect with yourself and you're like, oh yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. And it could be the biggest opportunity in the world, and you connect with the field, and the field's like, yeah, no. And you're like, it's so clear. Yes. It's like, it's the clearest thing that you've ever seen. Like when you're in integrity with it, it's like, yeah, no. And you're like, oh yeah, sure, of course. We'll completely, whatever you need, and you, because that service, and I'm a human. I get somebody cuts me off in traffic, I'm gonna get, I'm gonna exhale slightly out of my nose, and I'm like, oh, this guy, I'm a human being, and that dichotomy of us as men, but also as facilitators, it's such a beautiful dance that we do between being in who we are as men, and then who we are as facilitators, and having the grace and having the understanding and having the discernment between and knowing when it's us and when it's the system, when we're at services. It's like such a cool process to go through,
100%, brother. What I say to myself recently, this is something about last year, in the last year has been, when I go to facilitate a workshop, it's not Tiziano embodying another Tiziano, but I'm still Tiziano. So I can be of service even to my neighbor. I can be of service even, like, it's important that I'm gonna be me wherever I am, because when I show up at the workshop, I just need to be me. I don't need to embody anything different. Like, what I am externally, I am internally. What I am internally is what I reflect externally.
That makes all the sense in the world. So what's what's in store for 2026? What big plans are coming up?
2020, brother, is big for me in terms of workshop and worldwide. Like, as I said, in May, I'm gonna be in your side in America. We're gonna be in Mexico. We're gonna be for a 5-day retreat in Tulum. Then we're gonna be in Canada, Vancouver, in Canada, Toronto. Then I'm gonna spend a couple of months here back home in Australia, and then it starts my big tour in Europe. We have Europe and Middle East. We do August to November. 1 week on, 1 week off. We are in different nations. Italy, Slovenia, Bulgaria, Hungary, Egypt, Holland.
Are you coming to the States?
Not to the States this year, brother. I was actually like, I'm going to say to John this. I'm not going to be in USA. A lot of people actually DM me and stuff. We do only Canada and Mexico. Because we literally didn't have time, brother. We didn't have time. I'm very busy in what I'm doing. Also have my community. But I tell you, just to get in alignment with the conversation, I like to be very firm when I work. I need to be 100%. And I don't want to overload myself. So I need, my space. So I felt 3 workshops there. We're going to be good. And then in Europe, next year, probably, we had already opportunity in USA. But this year didn't align, or they just got later on during the days, but
the mental preparation and the place where you have to be in the space is something that I worked very hard on in the last couple of years, to say, like, I can't be in production mode and in facilitator mode at the same time. That doesn't work. Just to be like, I have to show up as the facilitator, and I facilitate, and I do what I have to do, and I have to wrap up and leave the building as the facilitator. And if I'm in production mode, I'm in production, because my sister facilitates as well, and she's an incredible facilitator. And so if I'm hosting or producing a constellation for her, I'm in, like, getting the waters and getting the stuff and getting the people sign in and doing, like, I'm fine with that. I can't do both. And I've learned that about myself. And I'm like, I completely understand what you're saying when like shifting those gears of, like, having the space to be in the right place to, almost come back to who you are after you've been at services, and you're not taking that stuff with you with the travel and the overload, and bringing all that stuff up it's really important. And I'm really glad you brought that up.
For me, brother, Australia is my creation place. So when I'm here, I feel I'm home. I'm creating for, what's happening over the year. Here, my masculinity is at its peak, like, workshop with brothers and stuff, but I'm here in creation in Australia. Then what I create in Australia, I expand and I bring all around the world. But this is my my safety nest.
So Tizzy, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they go through that process?
So first of all, Instagram, there's my @Tiziano_Sguerso. They find, my content. So Instagram and Facebook under my name. We post weekly and, actually daily. Then I have my community, which is a big community worldwide. There's a lot of facilitators as well, hundreds and hundreds of people now. It's the Language of the Soul Academy, which is on www.tizianosguerso.com. I made it a very affordable price, because we have people from everywhere: America, Canada, Brazil, India, everywhere. That's the best place to work with me on a daily level, because we work daily, and also we have live gathering every 2 weeks, constellations and work. And then my workshop worldwide, brother. I hope whatever you feel, to step with me. It's an honor for me to serve people and to have you in.
Yeah, man, I would love to do that. Hopefully I can come visit in either Toronto or Vancouver or even in Mexico. That would be outstanding. So Tizzy, I want to ask, I'm starting this new kind of series of, is there anything that we didn't cover that you think that we should cover?
To be fairly honest with you, no, brother. I felt really in alignment with your first question, and God, the field brought us together to cover that. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to spread my voice, share my voice into what you shared at the beginning. I feel that part you brought up at the start is, thank you.
It's one of the coolest things. And I'll say, been hanging out with Mateo. Our brother Mateo a lot. Doing constellations here in Miami, man. It's been incredible, dude. Yeah, he's such a cool dude. We've been having such a good time and putting constellations together and doing healing in this, wild world of healing. We're all kind of coming together. It's really cool. So thank you for always leading the charge, man, and setting an incredible example of what it is to embody, the masculine energy in this healing work. And I really appreciate it, man. And you always have a home here in South Florida whenever you want to land. And I hope to come to one of your constellations on this side of the world soon.
You honor me, brother, and I receive this with gratitude. Thank you for your beautiful space, a safe space for me to open up and the opportunity for it.
Always love having you, brother. And hopefully we'll do this soon again.
Big love.
Thanks for tuning in to the Zulu One Podcast. If you found value in today's podcast, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means everything to us. And thank you for being part of this journey.